Hello, good afternoon. We are on our third serving of the insurance industry webinar. And joining us this afternoon is Mitch Reliosa, my co-moderator, but he's still having some. Are you there, Mitch? Not yet. Anyway, together with us is Mitch will be joining us in a while, but with me and Mitch will be Ito Gruet of Computer Professionals Inc. Hi,
Hi,
Ito.
everyone. Hi, Francis, and good afternoon to all the participants.
Hello, hello, hi. So we're here again, and we will continue to do the service today and the next 2 Wednesdays of this month. So anyway, we're still. I don't know if the announcement from the government about the modified ECQ has already come out. So they said that they'll be announcing it today. But in any case, we will all still be here for sure until the end of May. So this afternoon, welcome again, everybody. Glad you can join us. So this afternoon, our topic will be crisis management in times of COVID. And we have a speaker today, and the speaker is a very good friend of Ito, and I will let Ito introduce him for us. Ito?
Okay, thank you so much, Francis. So, hello again, everyone. You might be wondering, it's quarantine time, and I'm here seated beside our guest speaker without a mask. Okay?
No social distancing.
No social distancing, yes. Well,
Okay.
that's because the two of us, we live in the same condominium community, and we have been quarantined here for 2 months.
Okay.
In the enclave of our community.
Okay.
So we have been able to control no cases. Nobody goes in or out. So
very good.
yes. Oh, and if you notice, we are actually very appropriately, we are in the command center of the condominium office, and we run the operations of the condominium from here, so including the crisis and everything that comes with it. And actually, so it seemed to be very apt, no? That Kip is our speaker today, because actually I've been acquainted with Kip for many years, but we only got more closely acquainted because of another crisis that happened last year. Okay, so it just seems like Kip and I have been working on one crisis after another, but nothing as big as this. And so when we were talking about the topic for today, I said, hey, why not Kip? Because he seems to be a master of crisis. Not only that, he thrives on it. It's like crisis for breakfast.
All
so
right.
anyway, I would just like to give you a few words about Kip. So, Kip and I are kind of like contemporaries, no? And Kip actually had his education in the US. So he had a Bachelor of Science in Psychology from the University of Washington, and then later on took up his Master's in Science of Management in Hull International Business School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He actually started his career in the banking industry. At start pa lang of the career, there was already a financial crisis. And so what does he do? He handles the debt management, debt crisis portion of the financial crisis. So very early on in his career, he's already had to deal with crisis. When he came back to the Philippines, he moved industry to oil and mineral exploration. So that's another industry that would probably have one crisis every day, right? So he, from his experiences and through training, he was also formally trained in crisis management. So when I would see how he basically handled the crisis that we have been going through, I thought he would be a good speaker for us this afternoon. And so I would like everybody to meet Mr. Ponciano, but you can call him Kip, or Kip.
Welcome, Kip.
Yeah, thank
Yes,
you,
as he is
Francis. Thank you,
fondly called
everybody.
here. So,
Thank
Okay.
you for
Hi,
inviting
Kip.
me to this
Uh,
webinar. Appropriate. It's something that I realized through the years, and more importantly, like what Ito said last year and now, that crisis management actually on the private sector side in the Philippines is a budding, uh,
industry.
not an industry,
Ano, parang
but an
area.
area that people are not too much aware of. You know, how to deal with crisis and how to go through post-crisis. So,
So yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna share Kip's slides.
okay, so we can get on with it.
Yeah.
Mitch, I think, is already with us. Are you there, Mitch?
Yes, I am. Sorry for coming in late. I'm having a crisis myself because I'm getting intermittent connections here. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm back. Hi, Kip.
Okay.
Hi, Ito. And hi, Francis. And hello to all the participants.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome back, Mitch.
Okay, so we can start already with Kip's presentation.
Presentation. Okay.
Go ahead, Kip.
okay, one of the things I told Ito from the start is we keep on hearing this term, no, and I'd like to correct this immediately, this new normal. We hear it in media and everything. And I think that puts everybody into a state of complacency. There is nothing normal. It is all abnormal at this from the start of this pandemic and this current where we are right now. And as we transition to the next steps, everything for everybody is an abnormal situation. So it's not, and for this pandemic, the world has never experienced a global crisis this fast and at this extent. No? So look at when we talk about it as it unfolds, everything is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We've had here in the Philippines, we've had what? A number of extensions. We see people still getting infected. We have no clear picture of when government will have a new program. So we have to move on. We start preparing for all events. We have nothing to go to use as an example. We have to adjust as the days go by. So let's try that. I'd like to get the participants, try not to look at it as new normal. Put in your minds, it is abnormal. And abnormal in a sense, if I may say this, and we'll take it up again later, the big abnormal, the pandemic, and as we adjust, you will have small abnormal situations. So we can go to the next slide. So here we are right now. I hope, and talking with Francis, Mitch, Ito earlier, that the industry participants their operations are running, though in short term there was a questionnaire earlier, a survey.
Yes.
I'm happy to see that report and say that people are already transforming, or adjusting. And they're adjusting in what? One of the things I'd like to ask the industry is, are you adjusting to survive? Or you're adjusting to take advantage or preparing to take advantage of opportunities in the future? There's no exact date, but there will be opportunities in the industry to benefit from. So survival is there, that's understood, but now it's also to prepare yourselves on how to move forward. So we go to the transform part. Moving towards the future, you have the midterm. Again, we don't have a date for that.
Yeah.
Nor for the long term. But when I talk to people, when I talk to my clients, I work now as an independent consultant. When I talk to Ito Gruet about here in Alexandra, I always tell them, let's look at the time horizon for vaccines to be created or cures. And you hear that most experts say 2 years. So we have to keep the 2-year time horizon as part of your thinking of how to transform. Once that comes in, the transformation, where will you be now? No, what do you have to work with? You have your current setup that suddenly, using March 15, March 16 as a milestone, suddenly all changed. We're here now. I don't know how many. I guess everybody's working from home.
Most
are working
although
from
some
home.
I think are on skeleton force,
Skeleton
but
force.
majority work from home.
So what do you have to work with right now? Where are your people? What are your people doing? What are you as CEOs doing? What tools do you have? What resources do you have? You're all looking at that. Do you have the buffer to cover claims? I know people are hurting that there are no new, what was the program, underwriting. Well, there's a shrinkage of the market.
Yeah,
for the short-term shrinkage.
And then pandemics are not covered, right, Francis?
Yes, unfortunately.
But because of the effect, no, like Francis, the effect of the sudden, what do they call it, stoppage of work nationwide, globally, a number of new revenue, the revenue stream of the industry players has been affected somehow, some way. So we go to your crisis, to planning. Of course, we think of everybody, safety of the health and safety of everybody, working from home, social distancing of your people and your stakeholders, your clients. We have to go forward now to. Well, one of the things thank you, Kikito. One of the things I have to say is, I know the industry depends on information that's, I don't know what, historical information, no? Like the number of uses of a car, the statistical averages. I don't think the industry can depend on that right now. We have to start, or the industry has to start collecting new information, new data sets, and somehow the industry has to share, if it can, with regards to this, because there's no, earlier when I talked to Francis, there's no playbook out there. There's no playbook for what are we going to do when there's a cure. Earlier, when Ito invited me to talk here, and we were reviewing the slides, I said, Ito, this is actually been taken up already by this fellow, Nassim Taleb. And I encourage people to get his books. You might be familiar with his more popular book, Black Swan, not the movie, the book Black Swan. And he talks about situations like this specific situation where you have three groups. You have the robust groups. These are the large companies that can survive. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I jumped. So he talks about three groups. Being anti-fragile means you are resilient and you have the strength, the robustness to ride out this crisis. Resilient doesn't mean you're going to be very profitable. You just are able to survive the first parts of the crisis. Resilient also means you get better. That's where now you go anti-fragile. One of the points of Taleb, Mr. Taleb or Nassim Taleb is fragile has no antonym. That's why he came up with the term anti-fragile. And this is where he points out you have to start adjusting. So if the next slide will show. So if you have an enterprise that's fragile, it's immediately damaged by disorder. You're not able to recover. And you may have clients, you've seen clients like that, where they were not prepared. They could not recover from a catastrophic event. Then you have those who are resilient. The large corporations, they may have buffers. They're able to ride out, whether it be an economic crisis. They might be a multinational. They have the resources to continue. Those are the companies or enterprises that are resilient. Then you have the anti-fragile. And I think this is something I'd say most Filipinos are. We're able to bounce back from crisis. Some of them slowly, a lot of them quickly. We're able to come up, reorganize, maybe continue with the business, or set up a new business. I think you've seen this. I would imagine that the industry players have clients, and you know your clients that who have that ability to bounce back. So this is something that the industry players also now have to teach themselves how to be anti-fragile. So I saw earlier in the survey a large majority or a significant number of the participants in today's webinar have answered
Louder
transform.
Speak louder now.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
A number of the participants have said, answered in the survey, the poll, that they are transforming, which is good. Means you know that things are different. They will be different. Removing this right now and going to say a post-crisis mode. Post-crisis mode, life will be different, business will be different. So people have accepted that. But you have to now ask questions, not only among yourselves, but ask questions of your clients. What do they expect? You should be in touch with your clients, asking them, what do you think?
You want to go now to the okay.
Then
okay.
act. After asking, you have to act start acting, and we can go to the next slide. So you cannot depend on the old models. There's no playbook, as we earlier said. There's no firm basis to quantify the risk. I'd be very surprised if you have someone who can give you some kind of risk assessment right now. And so we move on, and how do you transform without this data, without any models to work with? You will need to go digital. Agile requires the agility right now for you to transform will require embracing digital aspects.
Yeah, the digital transformation.
This digital transformation. And this is something I stressed earlier to Ito and to Francis. You cannot wait. You cannot wait. Why? Outside the Philippines, and I've been in touch with some of the in my industry, there are people who already have started or adjusting their products, insurance-wise. They're adjusting their products to address the issues of the pandemic. Address the issues of the pandemic for oil and gas, which is severely affected, and for mineral production. So the industry here in the Philippines cannot wait and say, let's ride it out. You have to start moving. You have to start working on data. You have to remember that you cannot separate this pandemic, COVID-19, and the economic stress, the economic disorder that's happening right now worldwide and here in the Philippines then. You cannot separate it from your operations and say, time out, I'll wait for things to settle down, then I'll start reforming. I don't think the industry has the time for that. So, sorry. Where do you want, as an industry player, as an entrepreneur, or an insurance company, where do you want to go? And one of the things we talked about earlier with Ito was, are you comfortable with digital? That's a question that you have to ask yourselves. Are you comfortable working with digital? Before the webinar started, I was asking Ito, has the industry started looking at blockchain reporting and everything? And I think it's just starting for some. And I think blockchain will play a very important role. It's already playing an important role in insurance. I think it will play a much bigger role in the coming months and years. Are companies here in the Philippines prepared to change their organization? Prepared to change their organization with what's happening right now, the changes of your clients. You're already being told by government, and we can see from worldwide, the worldwide news, no? Like manufacturing. We're going to allow only 50% of people to come in. Your production lines will only be manned by 50% people. Quickly, I start thinking, maybe that would be good for only how many months? But how many of those companies will start automating? So new equipment comes in, they start automating. People will lose their jobs. I think that has to be a known fact. So looking at the industry also, will you start automating? And one question that always being here in the Philippines is, how about our people? How do we take care of our employees? And I answered, my answer there will always be you have to teach your employees a new skill set. This is, this part of getting your organization ready. And how are you going to get your employees, your organizations, how are you going to deliver these new skill sets? I'm not asking that, excuse me, we're not asking, or I'm not proposing that you have to retrain them to learn new digital technology or what. The companies have to embrace one, the digital, and then second is to look for systems that will assist your employees to continue generating business for your enterprise. It's like having an app in your phone. The app makes life easier for most of us. You have to create, as an analogy, an app for your employees to be able to address the requirements of your clients. So that also requires an investment on the part of the enterprises. I don't know what kind of investment there is right now, what technology we have available here in the Philippines, but you can always take a look, open your eyes, see what Singapore, Germany, and the UK, the London are doing, because I noticed, I always tell, like I told Ito, the Singaporeans seem to have how many rungs above us with regards to InsurTech and all the other things. No? Coupled to that now is, can we move quickly? Can you move quickly enough? No? So here, the pandemic has created new situations. And here we are, proposing to you, you have to change your organization. So everything happening at the same time. How can you get this all together? Do you have the buffer, the stamina to bring this all together? Your organization has been able to adjust. Are you willing to make those tough decisions? Now, I'll bring those three together. You will be meeting, most of you will be meeting maybe through Zoom and everything. You'll be addressing clients through Zoom. You'll be asking questions like, how do you see your business? How do you see your enterprise coming in the next 2 years? And you'll be asking yourselves, how can I take care of these clients? What kind of investments will I need? What kind of tools will my employees need? So that's where we're going. I don't have like I said, there's no playbook. We all have to create our own playbook on this. And this is also where you have to be very flexible. The playbook that we're asking you to do or to create as you go along, you cannot, you may have a eureka moment and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I read the book of what Kip said, Anti-Fragile. This is great. I know what I can do. But then you have to, that's just a guide. You have to be ready. Part of your tough decisions, after spending money, investing in an idea, you may have to just dump it and say it doesn't work and adjust to a new idea again. So that's part of the tough decisions,
Mm-hmm.
So
Can I interject on something, Kip?
Sure.
Well, I noted that there is a one of the questions that you need to ask is where do we want to go, and I think that is a question that many insurance companies actually already asked themselves even prior to COVID days. No, where do they want to go? And I was thinking that normally an insurance company will want to have very robust targets. And under a situation, under a pandemic, that particular question, where do you want to go, will take another meaning actually now. Do you think how should the insurance companies now decide on where to go and what to invest on? Because uncertainty and investment are two words that actually don't go together. So I was thinking, so what is now the best tip that we can give our companies now?
We don't have it in the slide. No, I just realized that, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that the insurance companies, you're the experts, you're the well advanced with risk management,
Mm-hmm.
but you know what these risks are.
Mm-hmm.
You have to shift now to understanding risk, new risks that some of them have already been identified, some of them not.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go, what new risk? And you have to go, like I said earlier, you have to go back to your clients. You have to ask them, what do you see? You have to ask them, what risks do you expect? So that you can start analyzing how you can address those risks.
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on understanding the risks will be a big factor for most people, for most participants in the insurance industry.
Mm-hmm.
So covering, let's say in this slide, what opportunities are there for you to claim? I think of it, a number of people will be changing their way of doing business, the way of traveling. There must be some kind of opportunity there for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Who will your customers be? I was telling Ito earlier, I expect a number of SMEs, a significant number will be severely affected. Some of them might not be able to survive. But because of opportunities from this pandemic, there will be new SMEs with new products, new business lines, new ways of doing business. So you have to be aware of that. I can't give any specific on products right now or strategies, but it's being aware. You have to keep on asking.
Yeah.
Not only yourselves, but your clients themselves. Get in touch with your clients.
If I'm getting what you're saying, Kip, you mentioned two important words there: risk management. This is a something that insurers do their whole lives, and but now with this pandemic, I think what your message is you will have to reassess the entire risk management process that you've done on a per client basis. You have to take a look at how the clients themselves will intend to survive or transform,
Yes.
even in this pandemic, right?
Yes. You're dependent. Basically, insurance is the coverage of your client's operation. So you want to see what their plans are. I'd be very, very disappointed if your clients were not preparing themselves. And if they are not preparing, is it possible as insurance companies to tell them, you should start, as just like this webinar, the insurance industry should start telling their clients, you have to start preparing for these changes. So if we can go to the next slide.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think also another takeaway from what Kip is telling us is that really from the top level, there has to be a decision on how to move forward and where, diba? Moving forward, where? So I think I would like also to highlight some of the things that Kip said. Like, you really have to talk to your customers because they are in the best position to tell you how difficult it is, or in fact, what their plans are moving forward, so that as insurance companies, you can also adjust, diba, to where and be supportive of where they're gonna go. And then, I was looking at another question here, another comment about needing to change. So Kip also talked about reskill, right? Your employees. But I think it works from both sides. So management also has to change as to the employees. So going digital is first and foremost a mindset. And it's a mindset that also is planned, no? And processes that need to be planned. But without proper management push and support, and of course, without acceptance, then it's gonna be it's really gonna be difficult. I don't think it's something that we can wave a magic wand and suddenly everyone is ready to accept this new change or this new digital way of living.
Maybe as an example for the industry, if you look at the airline industry right now, worldwide, everybody's affected. And one of the questions people are asking is, first, how many of these airlines are going to survive? That's I think the current question. The next question is, how are we going to transact business during this time of COVID? This thing that they're being asked where you have social distancing within the plane. Having said that, what are their liabilities if somebody gets sick? Because they have this thing with contact tracing overseas. Do the airlines have this liability? So you have to start, these are questions that are coming out from industry overseas. Like maybe the local, the Philippine insurance industry should start asking those questions, asking their clients, engaging their clients.
There is a question here. It's very interesting from June Ocampo. It says here, the insurance industry is known for prudence. Saying measure twice, cut once seems to be the motto of our industry. However, speed, as you say, is something necessary to survive this crisis. So what advice, he's asking, what advice can we give company leaders who are not used to making major decisions?
Based on speed, insurance. Yes, insurance really, risk management, I know that's been pounded into me through my career. But also, again, going to understanding risk. Sudden changes. Maybe for the insurance people here, and you're non-life, general insurance. When I started in the oil and gas industry, the standard for the lectures given to me was the Piper Alpha platform in the North Sea, of how accidents coverage can really go wrong, what management should be doing. And that was suddenly changed a few years by this accident a few years ago, the Deep Horizon accident. I was already a senior officer. We still had to go through training based on the Deep Horizon accident, which cost how many $1 billion for BP. But BP, in the background, I think, can't remember now the name of this CEO, he made a mistake. He was quickly changed by the board. For BP to survive, they knew they had to change the chief executive officer. They knew they had to change policies that were set right during the time of the accident to adjust to the loss of trust in BP. Not even the loss of revenue, it was the loss of trust. So our managers, Philippine insurance companies, managers, are they willing to stick it out and say, we'll go back to the old model? Or you have to find now, I can't give you an answer, but to adjust to this new, this abnormal times.
Yeah, and then I think the other mindset that we have is we cannot make a mistake. Our mistakes would be so costly. So I guess we can now take a lesson from the tech industry of the startups, which is to fail fast.
Mhm.
In other words, don't wait, don't plan and do action with so much investment, but rather try small things quickly.
Mhm.
And then the ones that aren't working, just throw them away. Don't be afraid to throw them away. I think, well, when Kip, I had never heard of anti-fragile before, but when we were preparing the slides, I decided I should at least look at the book. And it actually said something there that anti-fragile organizations are ones that parang do things in smaller
Smaller
components.
Mhm.
So you don't do one big thing and fail big time.
Mhm.
But you kind of, you're less fragile when you're already
Mhm.
cut up into smaller pieces. And
Mhm.
so the little things that are tried in different areas of the organization are not so impactful.
Mhm.
Fails. Diba? I mean, of
Mhm.
course, you're not gonna be like, okay, you won't plan or do anything, but don't go overboard on being
Mhm.
too prudent because then that would cause inaction or super delayed reaction that would be too late naman.
Let me,
Mhm. Mhm.
let me ask the industry, for example, because of the pandemic, and this is something we touched on, Francis, no, when we first met this morning.
Mhm.
So the automotive insurance, car insurance is affected.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I note here running Alexandra, there are so many cars coming in now for delivery. So people are taking advantage of delivering. You have this new industry. I think it will grow. This
Mm.
deliveries of goods,
Mhm.
uh, of people,
Mhm.
transported people, would
Mhm.
be a sudden surge
Mhm.
of this the use of motor vehicles.
Mhm.
Uh, from the simplest motorcycle to the big trucks,
Mhm.
we're having equipment or supplies transported to Alexandria using
Mhm.
Transportify because they're
Mm.
allowed to move around.
Mhm.
So already you can start
Yeah.
seeing the start of
New,
a
new,
new way
yeah.
of doing business.
Um,
Mhm.
just to give you orders of magnitude, here we get 600 to
600
800
deliveries.
deliveries a day.
This is a
Mhm.
This
complex.
is not a very big one, by the way.
Mhm.
That's how
Mhm.
much comes in every day. So
Mhm.
can you imagine, this is
Mhm.
only one. Can you imagine all over the Philippines what's happening?
Mhm. The good news about that is the insurance industry have product lines that will answer those types of risks, no? And I think the message here is we will not actually need to rethink it a little bit, and then maybe do some tweaking in order to actually capture this surge in other types of exposures that
Yes.
our clients
And
are
yeah,
facing.
and
Yeah.
then the other area I think is cyber insurance.
Cyber insurance, yes.
Everything's going digital.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how we're also captured by what you read on Facebook, what is forwarded, fake news
Mm-hmm.
that is
Mm-hmm.
forwarded on Viber and all other
Mm-hmm.
medias. But I was reading that abroad they have coverage for if na fake news ka.
Mm-hmm.
So parang stuff. So there it opens possibilities
Mm-hmm.
for insurance in areas that were not probably looked at before, but
Mm-hmm.
are becoming more ubiquitous in
Mm-hmm.
this age
Mm-hmm.
now.
So you're saying that that the to be transformed is supposedly a company who is able to ride this new wave of risks,
Risk.
and
And yeah,
Understanding
and I think more than ride it, to
mhm,
actually become better
better.
mhm,
because of it. So
mhm,
because the company was able to find and see opportunities that
mhm,
weren't there before. Parang
yeah,
opportunities came from the crisis.
mhm,
Weren't there before,
mhm,
acted fast, became a first mover and took advantage of those gaps that they saw. That's an anti-fragile kasi they were able
mhm,
hindi lang ride so they're still alive but wow, their business grew.
Then small,
Mhm.
small
As a
steps,
result.
small things.
Small steps. Yeah, but fast.
Mhm.
Fast.
Acting
Remember
fast.
earlier, Francis, we talked. One of my biggest fears here in Alexandra, we talked about fire insurance, and I said yes. One of my biggest fears here in Alexandra right now are all of these people, all of our neighbors, no, Ito and I, who are buying gallons, not small bottles, but gallons of alcohol, storing it in their units.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's I really worry about that. And then you can go, as Ito said earlier, you go further. You'll have these alcohol stations all throughout
Mhm.
offices, malls, and
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
What are the dangers of these things now? Having this flammable.
Actually, actually, Kip, the fire insurance industry has this thing called the residential gasoline warranty. Maybe
Yes.
we should put a residential alcohol warranty.
But
So
just
that prevents you from storing too much alcohol.
Yeah.
but Francis, maybe you have to just specify what kind of alcohol,
Yeah,
di ba?
Oh, yeah.
There's
One kind is
no kind.
acceptable. Yeah, no. The drinking kind is acceptable. Yeah. Agree.
But so those are like here, just using Alexandra. That one scares us. I see the deliveries come in and going, who's storing that much alcohol in their unit? Because it's become such a sought after commodity that people are hoarding.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you're going to address, like, for example, those who are in manufacturing when they have a change in their manufacturing line during this time.
Mhm.
And the other area is, which is an antithesis of everything that was taught to us,
Mhm.
there will be a change in storing, putting up buffer stock. Your clients, who especially those, well, from, like, say, condominiums like this, condominium complexes like this to manufacturing, you realize that, wow, we're affected by shortage of materials. I better start stocking up, not only with alcohol, but with other materials. You will start warehousing again.
Mhm.
You start warehousing again. It's not anymore, this just in time is okay during
Mhm.
pre-COVID period, the
Mhm.
pre-COVID generation. Just in
Mhm.
time, your supply line was able to deliver.
Mhm.
The supply lines are now going to be disrupted on a regular basis for the next 2 years. So you have an increase in inventory stock, in supplies, in warehousing costs. So those are things that the industry should start looking at.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
Okay, shall
There's
we?
another, yeah. There's another question, a good question here, but maybe you can go to the
Go
next
ahead.
item.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Francis.
Yeah.
No, there's a question here. It says that kind of a tricky one. He's asking about credibility of the insurance companies. He says, how can insurance companies tell clients to change the way they manage their risks when the insurers themselves failed to prepare for the pandemic? And then, how do they address
You
this
should.
credibility issue?
Yeah. Ah.
It's interesting, no? I was just updating myself with the author of that book, Anti-Fragile.
Mhm.
They asked him this few weeks ago, is this pandemic a black swan? And he said
What's
no.
a black swan?
Black swan is something that, like an earthquake or the 9/11. It's a sudden
It's a
catastrophic
sudden
thing.
catastrophe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sudden, unexpected,
Unexpected.
completely out of this world
Somebody-
catastrophe. Yeah.
and you guys can look it up in the net.
Mhm.
He said no. It's there. It was right in front of everybody's face. They did not. They refused to prepare, especially the United States. So a small investment that could have been done at the start, they'll be paying billions now just to correct and hopefully survive. So what's the credibility of the insurance company to the clients? No, that's why here's where your trust comes in with your clients, especially with your old clients, regular
Yes, your
clients.
regular clients.
I think the ability of a person or an enterprise asking another enterprise people they service, we want to remain in business with you.
Yes.
And we'd like to be able to understand what what you plan to be doing so that we can also adjust, because everybody will be adjusting.
And I think if we're talking about trust and credibility, then the best thing, I guess, would be to do the credible and trustworthy thing. It's which to admit. I think learn, and then in effect, we were not as ready as we
Nobody was
wanted to be. In fact, nobody was really ready. But admitting that and saying, but now let's not do the same mistake. What we are now moving towards is acting faster, recovering and helping you, our customer, also to recover. And I think one aspect of recovery is when we prioritize which areas we want to focus, which areas we will do first. Getting that from your customer, I think, will also increase the relationship. It will enhance the relationship because you're listening to them. So you're going to provide and help them with solutions that are relevant to them. So I think if companies are going to be honest about it and say, but this is what we're doing, so that's why it's important to still, no matter where you are, accept, ask, and then act fast. So, and then communicate to your stakeholders, your customers, that this is what we're doing now.
Okay.
And going to the next slide.
Okay.
And this is part of reply, continuing our reply. When you develop these new business models and accelerate, you go back, you have to communicate and collaborate with all stakeholders. Without understanding the needs of your clients, without understanding your needs, then you'll be lost. No, you have to start creating basically a pathway, a roadmap on your own, or as an industry to where this where you want to, where we all want to be, where people aren't getting sick, where business interruptions are not minimized but gone. But I think that will still be there, the business interruption part. One other thing, I'll go back again, Francis, to what I said earlier, where once you have that eureka moment, once you have, we have a new business model, you may have invested quite a bit on that. So we also have to understand that you may have to change these business models. We have to change everything that we've talked about. Let's say, Kip talked about this, let's do it this way. Next week, we might change again. Something new comes out. You'll have to adjust again. And as Ito stressed, do this in small steps so that you don't lose your shirt. There you have to keep on measuring your results, adjusting continuously.
Yeah. And then I was just having a thought now that, when you talk about business models, kasi this is happening in the IT field, that we're moving from purely solutions to actually services. And, insurance companies also provide valuable services to their clients. So now, aside from thinking of yourselves as selling insurance, maybe you can also look at services that complement the insurance that you offer. So perhaps helping them to manage, let's say if they have a warehouse or a manufacturing floor, providing them with good information, good recommendations as to how maybe they can even improve the things, and then how they can reduce. On the one hand, it will reduce premiums because they're so effective and they're so efficient. But on the other hand, you gain a very loyal customer. And, I know that in other countries, some insurance companies, particularly in life, actually they can already charge fees for the financial consulting that is provided. So it's looking at your business model in a really very, how shall I say, dynamic way. Now, we're not only selling insurance now. Diba?
Well, insurance companies, I'd like to believe, is just not really all services. I think they want to see themselves also as a solutions
Yeah,
provider.
yeah.
So that I think the insurers work hand in hand with their intermediaries along those lines. No, the I was thinking about a really specific situation, like going from survival mode to transformation mode. It's good that many of the listeners now said, I think around 85%, that they're in transformation mode. So that's terrific. Now,
Mm-mm.
but to just to drill down on a specific activity, for example, I've been hearing all over the place that insurers are concentrating on renewals now only because new business is really very hard to come by in a lockdown situation. So transformation to them will have to be moving on from taking care of their existing clients,
Yes.
Yes.
trying to get new ones, and I think they'll have to be able to advertise themselves as that, no, as somebody who has changed gears, borrowing
Yes.
your own term, Ito, and going through this new focus, no, on thriving from all of these things that are happening.
And I think because everybody got the hang of this kind of interaction na virtual,
Hmm.
like, di ba, parang everyone's on Zoom. So even our lolas are
Hmm.
talking to us on Zoom. Di ba? Everybody's just gotten into, you know, think of maybe your agents can capitalize on just using these tools in a much better and engaging way. Insurance companies can help by
Hmm.
creating very engaging videos about your
Hmm.
products and
Exactly.
even having endorsers do it and stuff like that. And then
Hmm.
equipping the agents to bring this. So you still have the virtual face-to-face of your
Hmm.
agent and his customer, but you're equipping them with a lot of other tools so that you can actually be
That's correct.
generating new
Yeah.
business.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
the agents will not disappear because even if I
Yeah,
see
I also don't see that.
if I see this in tools and everything,
Yeah.
still like to have that comfort level when I call that person.
Hmm.
Now if I call, hey Ito, is this correct?
Hmm.
Really do this?
Hmm.
Yeah,
No, you're saying here. Then I get more comfort. Can I expand this to my
Hmm.
organization? Can I expand this to
yeah,
my business?
Hmm.
No? Because I
Yeah.
have an idea that I'm talking to someone. It's not just something that's popped up there in front of me in the screen.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
actually people who are developing this. That's why
yeah,
the trust between the I don't know what it's called in this industry, but basically the service provider and the
the
user,
user.
Hmm.
the trust has to be built up.
Hmm. Utmost good faith
Good faith.
is,
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
is the
yeah.
something
term.
that's the battle
Yes.
company.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Mon Cruz, said something exactly along the lines that we're talking about now. He said that tailor making covers to suit our insured's needs is
Yes.
where the intermediaries come in. So
Yes.
it makes sense to sit down with the insureds, determine their exposures, which are not present in their existing condition prior to the lockdown. So he's agreeing with us that it's very important to sit down with clients and talk about exposures all over again and
Yeah.
see what you come up with.
Starting now
Yes.
already.
And I also
Mhm.
understand, Francis, that really majority of our insurance companies in the Philippines really
Mhm.
still do a lot of business through brokers and
Mhm.
agents,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think also it makes sense to look at digital
Mhm.
that perspective as well. Parang
Mhm.
digital doesn't have to be direct to consumer
Mhm.
or di ba direct to insured, but
Mhm.
actually also super enabling your agency force, your brokers, and making it so easy and comfortable for them to deal with you.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the other parang game changer eh. How easy
Mhm.
is it for a broker or agent to deal with the insurer? Um,
Mhm.
they would normally want to give their business to the ones who
Mhm.
make life easy for them and give them pa more
Mhm.
tools, right? Or give them
Mhm.
in fact, even if this is normal again in IT, that we who would be partners of big players,
Mhm.
they actually even give us leads.
Mhm.
So parang there's this really nice ecosystem of them finding the leads,
Mhm.
giving it to us then fulfilling those needs for
Mhm.
for the insured. So marami
Mhm.
actually. It's just the list is endless if you
Yeah.
just sit
Mhm.
down and write it down.
Then
I
during
agree.
this time of unknown, wouldn't your clients and yourselves be comfortable that your clients would be comfortable that, hey, my insurance company called me asking
Yeah.
Mhm.
how I'm doing and what do I plan to do?
Mhm.
So again, the comfort level, the trust. During this time, I think it's expected among all industries.
Mhm.
It's something that we talked about already, like in my industry or my former industry. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So here we are, we're starting to talk about how to take care of each other.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Agree.
I mean,
Okay. Do we still have? Okay.
no, that's the last slide. And
So we actually
Mm.
have I we have time for more questions, but
Mhm.
let me just show you the last.
There's a question here, Ito. I think that has to do with the last slide of Kip. No,
Okay.
uh, someone was asking, well, about how do you make insurers who have a traditional way of thinking? How can you make them think differently? That's one of the questions. And in Kip's last slide, there's a bullet point there which says, "Make tough decisions." I think that is something to. I think that will partly answer that question. That how do you make a traditional thinkers think differently? This is the challenge that is posed to them now. That I think management will really have to make tough decisions this time.
Yeah.
And you cannot afford to be more complacent when it comes to uh, ideas, no, on where to go. If there are some bold moves that you have to make, if you have to make some investments on something, you have to make the decision now.
you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe
Mm-mm. I just wanted also, because I just remembered I saw this on TV.
Hmm.
It was about how I think automotive,
Hmm.
because of the social distancing,
Hmm.
workers could not be near each other.
Hmm.
But there were certain processes that needed them to be near each other.
that's what
Kasi you
Mhm.
can't. But parang they were saying that because of that, and that was one of the things that Kip had also mentioned,
Mhm.
don't separate health
to help.
and welfare of your employees from the process or from your
Mhm.
operations. So
Mhm.
you have
Mhm.
to build it in. Parang
Mhm.
make it a fact of life.
Mhm.
So that's what they did. And then so they had to change the process flow for the
Mhm.
assembly of the vehicle.
Mhm.
And because they did that, it actually improved the process.
You have to.
Mhm.
They were able to improve the process and shorten it
Mhm.
because of that. So maybe if we look at it at not everything is an inconvenience,
Mhm.
or maybe some of these things we're forced to do
Work
will actually have a good outcome
outcome.
if we
Mhm.
just
That's being anti-fragile.
if we just put our heads and see, okay, what's the best way to keep them socially apart but still
Mhm.
get the job done or productive.
I'll ask this,
Mhm.
Francis, for the
Mhm.
industry.
Mhm.
Let's say in the shortest time they have a vaccine and a cure. Vaccine for people
Mhm.
who are not infected, and a
Mhm.
quick cure for those who get infected. And
Mhm.
things are getting. You use the term now that okay, there's a new normal.
Mhm.
I think it, and you guys can tell me, but in the minds of everybody in the world, it's going to pop up again. Would there be again another pandemic? Do pandemics really move this fast? One
Mhm.
quarter ago, 3 months ago, we weren't even thinking of this.
Mhm.
Who gets that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't.
So,
Yeah.
So questions like that, when things hit a normal, in the back of our minds would be, this can happen again. And so how does the insurance industry address those issues, those new issues?
There is a question here on resistance.
Yeah, I was looking also
yeah.
at
How do you
some of the
handle
comments.
how do you
Very
handle
nice. Like,
resistance to
probably
change?
some companies can convene agents.
Go ahead, Ito.
Yeah.
There was some lag.
On which part? The clients or
Is it okay? This is, I am supposing, within the company.
organization?
Within the
so we
okay.
so we
Is this
understand.
within the organization?
Yes, I think that's the. I think the question is about that.
We're lagging.
We're lagging.
There's just a lag. Hello, Ito, you still there? Okay, we're just having some technical difficulties. Ito, are you there already?
Yes, we're here.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. There was a question here I was reading about resisting change. What is the best way to handle resistance to change inside an organization?
The first thing that for every time you have a change is the understanding. Understanding that, you know, maybe bluntly, if we don't change, we're not going to survive. If you don't, so you have that first, the realization that if we don't adjust, if we don't change, we might as well look for a new business. I'll be very blunt that way. So convincing. How do you convince an organization to change? Management will always look at it in terms of the return of income. So are these changes going to contribute to my revenue, to an increase of to maintain a revenue stream and to increases of revenue that I can declare a profit? So those are things that goes hand in hand with change. And that continues on when you tell people, look, we're going to go digital. Now, let's use that example. We're going to go digital because we want, one, we have to address our clients' needs immediately, and we actually bring down overhead. I was doing this project, Francis, a couple of years ago. A lot of people avoid a number of the insurance industry, and a lot of people, insurance, how do you call it, clients, no? Possible clients, are you avoid them because the paperwork, I'd call it that right now, the general paperwork, the overhead is much more, the cost is much more than whatever revenue you get from the client. That's one area that you start looking at, where can I improve in that? Because all of people are scared also now of their investments, their assets. How can I take advantage of that?
Yeah.
So if you don't understand, so we earlier I said we have to start understanding risk. We also have to understand why we need to change.
The acceptance part, right?
Acceptance part.
Yeah. So I think that's where I think this question will probably is a result of not accepting change in the first place. So I think the important thing is to let the people understand, whether it's management or the staff. They have to understand and accept what the situation is right now, and then try to work from there and to plan out new stuff.
Kip and Francis, as you were talking, I was going over the chats. There are a number of related chats about your agents and your intermediaries. So it has to do with talking to them. Okay, in different areas, like maybe talking to them so that they can bring in some more new business, or talking to them to design how things can be post this. A little crisis lang, keep us post this situation, no? And thought was, I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
In fact, some said, oh, baka we can convene them in Zoom and really just
Mhm.
have like
Mhm.
a town hall of sorts, with
Mhm.
people who bring in business for you. And
Mhm.
my advice, I think, is, in fact, when you plan, don't even plan for when this is over. Plan
Mhm.
already for
Mhm.
the coming weeks,
Mhm.
months, because as it was said, it's going to be very magulo.
Mhm.
Many companies will actually not even go to work yet. So even
Mhm.
if the quarantine is lifted, some
Mhm.
of them will not even reach 50%
Mhm.
workforce.
Uh,
So
mhm.
you can expect that people will still be staying home. So
Mhm.
why not use this time to talk to the agents? Maybe they have
Mhm.
ideas. They're the ones in contact with the clients. Baka they have
Mhm.
ideas for you as insurance company. So I totally agree with the suggestions that were posted by si
Mhm.
Ramon, si Sita, si um, all of these. I think it's good. The faster you communicate,
Mhm.
the better. Don't
It has
wait.
to, you cannot
Don't
wait.
wait till
You
after.
cannot wait.
Yeah.
Do it already.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Ito, because Kip a while ago was talking about getting to know your client much, much more now. And in our current setup, the intermediaries, the brokers and the agents, they're the ones who actually know what is going on with their clients.
Yeah.
So engaging them is going to be crucial. And in fact, I know some companies with applications already for agents to make
Yes.
it to make it easier to make the task easier for both insurance company and
Yeah.
the agent. So yeah, that's completely necessary, I think.
And I think talking to the agents will give you a better idea of, di ba, there's one part there that you have to know where you're going,
Hmm.
parang decide where you're gonna go. Um,
Hmm.
Maybe your agents can also give you good information.
Hmm.
Because you can't use historical now. You have
Hmm.
to kind of use predictive.
Yeah, you cannot use historical now. You can only use hysterical.
That's true.
Sorry, that's a joke. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Maybe to
Okay.
add, no, to add,
Hmm.
right, one of the things I learned through doing this, as crisis manager is
Hmm.
crisis management is just these are incidents, even an earthquake, and there's, people say catastrophe. Okay,
Hmm.
loss of life, loss of property.
Hmm.
But if it's not managed properly, if you cannot go forward, then you really have a disaster. You want
Hmm.
to avoid that. Now you want to avoid, for example, the loss of your clients, their businesses.
Hmm.
They want to still be around. They need help. We want to know that the insurance companies are there also. I would imagine. I would like
Mm-mm.
to know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
are the insurance companies? If it was back in oil and gas, I'd like to know. Are you guys still going to be here when I start drilling again? Oil?
Hmm.
Are you going to give me a difficult time?
Hmm.
Market prices
Yes.
have changed.
Yes.
Hmm.
So those are things that you have to start looking at. The
Hmm.
industry has to start addressing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And they can help you plan what you should be looking forward to.
Hmm.
They'll tell you, these are what our clients are expecting. This is what
Hmm.
we see.
Hmm.
These are what your competitors are doing.
Here's another scary question from Manny Maloles. Manny says, should people get into a mindset that what should I do if a vaccine is never developed? Oh
Yes.
my, oh my God.
I'll give you an example. It's not from me. It's from media, from outside. We've not found a vaccine for HIV.
Yeah.
And that has killed what? 30 plus million people worldwide.
Hmm.
They have protocols and everything, but
Yes.
there's no vaccine.
Yeah, now
Hmm.
parang they call it, parang you just lessen the impact of the
Lessen the impact.
sickness, or
Hmm.
you build up your immune system,
Hmm.
Yeah.
which is naman what the anti-fragile people are saying.
Yeah.
Parang
Hmm.
they're not in favor of parang all these things that people are doing. Parang
Hmm.
you have to become anti-fragile, which is
Hmm.
build up your immune system.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
and then they said the worst thing you can do is parang avoid the virus from touching you, because you'll never get immune if you don't. Parang, of course, there are schools of thought, no?
Yeah.
But I guess what's the ano? Pero it's true, no?
But I think-
It's possible it will
Yeah,
never.
like here in the pandemic, no, people are getting lost at times. When they talk about why are we in quarantine, the quarantine was just to be able to keep the hospitals, to be able to keep medical care, to be able to cope for the medical care to cope with patients. And then now we come to social distancing and everything, which now affects the industry, workers and everything. So going on and on. It will keep on evolving, keep on changing. Well, I can say I planned right now a BPO office. I have how many chairs because of the cost of rent and everything. I have them side by side, and now I'm suddenly told I cannot do this.
So being immune does not only go for people, right? So I think the companies now say, how do we get a company immune so that we can stay on and continue our service to our clients, right?
And take advantage of new opportunities.
Yes.
There will be new opportunities.
Yes, I think that's the key message in kasi we can always ride it out, but do you want to ride it out 2 years now you're still riding it out, or do you want to be a first mover and start looking at the opportunities that are gonna be coming? So I think the points that Kip raised in his presentation, those are things worth looking at. Parang review and then look as a framework.
Bring it down.
Bring it down to your organization. I also think, well, the book is a bit, kasi this guy is philosophical, but so it's a bit philosophical, this anti-fragile book. But I think if we're talking about change, if we're talking about acceptance, diba? And we're talking about mindsets, I think it's an important book to read. Kasi the mindset has to be always, for me, dapat optimistic tayo. Optimistic that things will really get better. And if we only see the opportunities, we can take our companies, we can reach our revenue targets. It's just that maybe not in the way we originally planned it at the start of the year, but in other ways. We can find the revenue in other ways. But it takes more work, right? Because you can't just go, sige, sell ka lang ng sell. Hindi lang incentivize the agents or what. You have to change. But personally, I believe there is a lot of opportunity.
There is.
A lot. It's just whoever finds it and can tap it sooner.
Okay. There's another. Actually, I saw two items in the chat room already talking about is there some entity who can actually help the industry set itself in the right direction. And sometimes, well, of course, the industry works very closely and works hand in hand with the Insurance Commission. And definitely there the PIRA, unfortunately, I think Mitch totally left us, I think. But anyway, so Mitch is and the PIRA is on top of that. And there are a lot of things that need to be worked on with the Insurance Commission, and certainly their help is needed in order to make things easier for the insurance companies, especially during these times. And I've attended one of their sessions, and they are on the way to do exactly that. No, as soon as the quarantines are lifted, and I think they're setting up even some meetings with the Insurance Commission as we speak.
Yes. Kasi sayang the opportunity. Actually, sayang the opportunity now.
Knowing that already for the PIRA.
Yeah, PIRA is the
Philippine Insurance.
The Philippine Insurance and Reinsurance Association.
Yes. I think even before waiting for the meeting, using again this medium, they should start talking and start having a position to tell government we need to do it this way. It's not only for the insurance industry, but it's for industry, for SMEs, for entrepreneurs to survive these new changes. If a number of people would like to continue with their business, the new businesses, government cannot sit down and start talking. Well, let me change that. In where I came from, we used to prepare a number of structures which government can choose. Usually, it's easier for us to prepare something that government, okay, that's a good idea. I'll get that idea. I'll get this idea. And you take out the guesswork. And you just adjust it a little more. That's how I think IRA should work. Provide already something for the insurance commission, it's the insurance commission to work with.
Yeah. I also understand, Francis, kasi when we talk to our insurance clients, so digital, di ba? So putting together digital initiatives, and one of the frustrations also is that it takes time to approve new products.
Yeah.
Diba? So parang their ano is, how can we be fast if it takes so long? Parang, diba? And you know, when we're talking about fail fast, the point nga there is it should be easy for you to introduce the product, but maybe this one will not be sellable or what. And you just stop it, diba? For that, kailangan talaga agile. Even the way even IC would be agile in the guidelines. Like what they can do is, as long as it follows these major guidelines, it's okay. You don't have to design it with along a process.
Maybe I don't know if I'm going to get into trouble saying this, but you have the industry, Pira, has to prepare a dog and pony show for government. I'll give an example, and this is recent. A friend of mine invited me to one of these Pogo presentations. And you can see how it's almost a digital infographic that people go, okay, that's how they're going to make money, how they're going to give money to government. So if the government keeps on, well, other than the political part, it's easy for them to understand. So you have to spoon feed the government agencies saying, this is what the industry right now. And you need help again from some members of Congress, but that, you know, it comes later on. But basically, here is what we want, and they adjust on that. Don't wait for government to come up with their own structure.
I agree.
No.
Okay, I think Pira has so many programs already, maybe along those lines. So, we have very good people whom we're talking to now in the Insurance Commission, and they've been very supportive, and so I think I'm very optimistic along those lines.
And you work work with the other, like PCCI.
Yeah.
You have to work with the other associations like PCCI, where you have people. If I'm going to reorganize my business, or if I'm going to a new business, is the insurance industry going to be there working with me? So getting the people like PCCI involved when you talk to government might, will help. We cannot be islands of different interests working time.
Okay. All right. What other questions do we have, Ito?
Okay, wait. Let me move this. Yeah, so the covers.
There was a question a while ago about again being agile, no, for example, and we're talking about teams. When you do a crisis management, then we were saying in the previous webinars that you have to have many small teams, no, working on the crisis, and so we're talking about should you have a response team together with a transformation team, or you should have a transformation response team first, and then a transformation team later on?
That you're right there, Francis. You have. It depends on the size of the enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with a small enterprise. Your response team might also be your transformation team,
Mm-hmm.
and because of it works with volume of the volume of work, or the volume of number of clients you have.
Mm-hmm.
So as the bigger the bigger the volume, you will have to have two teams. Just taking care first of what do we have right now, what are my resources right now, and you have another team who knows about these resources. You bridge it and go, we have to start adjusting. Here are your clients. We have our clients there. We have to start adjusting for this new, how do you call it? For the new structures, for the new businesses they may be in, or the new situations they may be in. The size of the team, the number of teams is really dependent on the volume of work.
Okay. So actually, maybe a lot depends also on what the current state, or at what state were you caught with this work from home thing, no? Because if you saw yourself prepared enough to handle the current crisis of having to let your 90% of your employees to work from home, then maybe you'll have enough resources and time to look at how to thrive, no, after
Yes.
pandemic.
Yes.
I was talking the other week with an owner, one of the principals of one of the bus companies that run. Significant number of buses, one route only. I mean, not one route, but just Luzon. And they're trying to adjust. You know, they're trying to keep their drivers paid. There's no routes right now. How they're going to do this with government mandate of, he said, you know, everything's geared that you try to fit everybody and everything inside the bus. How are you going to do this with social distancing? How will I pay the loans, and how will I pay my premiums? Probably to the insurance company. That I'm now half business. So should my premiums come down because I only right now go out half of the time, or do I only have half of the passengers? Those are questions that the industry has to start asking itself.
Collection of premiums is one of the big concerns in the industry. Yes. Okay.
And then maybe getting them, even in collection, getting them na into a digital, even your customers, your agent, making sure that it's easy, so that it becomes a path of least resistance. I think that should be digital's objective.
It's like having
Everything is so easy, just as easy as doing that, all the things we do on our phones.
Can I ask this from most of the participants here? Did you see yourself in January or February of 2020 using Zoom as a medium right now?
In January, I was listening to Zoom, the song.
Okay.
that's all I knew of that. Yeah.
Here we are now, mid-May, and everybody goes, "Huh? You don't know how to use Zoom?"
Yeah.
Suddenly, like in 3 months, or actually here for us, it's 2 months.
Pero how encouraging kasi, the poll earlier, that they are already, majority are in transformation already. And that is super encouraging. Diba? And, you know, we sometimes think that when you say transformation, dapat super everything digital. But everything for, parang they always say form follows function. So the area, parang you don't digitalize for the sake of doing it, but you do it to fulfill a function. That adds value to the organization.
Of course, yeah.
So, diba? And then design. This is to plug next week's webinar. Kasi we're gonna talk about customer-centric process design. No?
Okay.
So it's in the light of the designing the process. Parang before you build the app or before you build the digital component, you have to design first how it is going to affect your customer or the one who's gonna use it. So what we're gonna be presenting, we got somebody actually from the US. So she's customer customer experience head of.
She's an American.
She's a Filipina who
A
studied
Filipina.
in the States, and then she worked for big retail stores designing customer experiences. So lately they have been designing customer experiences for COVID. Stores had to close.
Okay, yeah.
And then stores had to open again. And so parang she's gonna take, according to her, she'll be taking the participants through an exercise in how you do this. And then I think she's gonna do an exercise for insurance.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that will be for next Wednesday, right, Ito?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So folks, look out for that.
Yeah, I wanted kasi it's related rin eh. Kasi if we're already in transformation stage, then you should be looking at this na. So one by one, look at all your processes and see is this value adding? If it's not, throw it away, diba? And then you focus on your processes that will bring the most value and then design from a customer perspective.
Well, so they can do that as an assignment in preparation for next week then.
Wow, first.
Not only customer, agents.
Yes, agents, employees.
Okay, so anyway, before we officially end, I'd like to thank Mr. Kip Mathai. Thank
you.
thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
We need a crisis manager, first-hand experience.
Yeah.
One of the things I told Ito is, again, I've never seen, anybody will tell you this crisis, in crisis training, no one ever talked about 2 months crisis management.
Exactly.
So we're adjusting.
So let's hope that the next crisis of this magnitude comes in 100 years.
I hope so.
Oh, wala na tayo. Oh, doesn't come na, di ba?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, then hope it doesn't come anymore. Right.
Francis, now your industry is now all over the world. So this is how fast a pandemic works. How do we start adjusting with new products? No one ever really planned. That's why it's unfair also to say to someone, you're not prepared. And you'll go, prepared for what?
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah, but we will be prepared next time. I assure you. Yeah. This will be the last one.
Yeah, and then Francis, if we look at the bright side, always think that it's teaching us a lesson. It's teaching us a lesson that even in the worst time of crisis, and each company will go through their own, right?
Yeah.
There will be different crises. But there's always that part that you actually can not only survive the crisis, but you can thrive in it. So I think the disciplines we'll be learning during this time are things we won't throw away. They're things that we can already use.
You have to.
And as Kim said, have to use the way we run our businesses in the future.
It would be a big waste if we're not learning something right now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Your participants are not learning.
I completely agree. Okay, so with that, thank you, Kip. Thank you, Ito, for sitting beside Kip.
Yeah, diba?
After Friday.
The price of that was 2 months of we cannot do anything.
No, the moment here in Alexandria, the moment we step out, meaning with this MCQ, we start
You
going.
cannot
We have
come back.
That's it. We're back to 1 meter to 2 meters away from each other.
All right. Okay. So thank you, and I'd like to thank, of course, everyone who tuned in.
Also, Carl.
And Carl Ventura, who's on the backstage again. Thank you, Carl, for all your assistance.
Yeah, and Mitch, who
And Mitch, who no, I don't like to thank Mitch because he left us. No, but I'm sure Mitch is still listening now, and hopefully he can answer some of the questions here about what's currently happening between the industry's coordination with the Commission. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. So I hope to see you next Wednesday to talk about to listen to the next insurance industry webinar. So thank you very much. So we'll be signing out. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Francis, and thank you everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
We really have to look at it. Sound so customer-centric process design.
We have poll results here.
Oh, that's good. Are we out now?
That's good.
Yes. Nice.
Okay.
Good turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.